Okay, we're going to get started. I'll call this meeting in the Red Oak Independent School District to order at 7 p.m. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. All board members are present with the exception of Mr. Johnny Knight. Mr. Sebring, would you introduce our guest?
So I have the pleasure of introducing my pastor, Brother Jared Douglas, come down and do the invocation. Jared is married to Amy Douglas, who is a graduate of Red Oak High School, and they have two daughters. Jaden, who graduated from Red Oak High School this past May and is now a freshman at Texas A&M University. And Allie is in the 6th grade at Red Oak Middle School. Jared spent 8 years in the United States Marine Corps and currently serves as the lead pastor at First Baptist Church Red Oak. Jared also serves as the chaplain of the Red Oak Police Department, the Red Oak Fire Department, and the Red Oak ISD Police Department. And he has his Bachelor of Science degree in Biblical Studies and Counseling and is currently finishing his master's degree at Dallas Baptist University. Thank you, Brother Bitt.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, so let me open us up in prayer. Father, we thank you for this day. God, we understand this is the day that you have made. We didn't make it. We didn't create it. You did. And you gave it to us to enjoy. And Lord, we thank you for that. And God, we thank you for the freedoms we have in our country, the freedom we have to assemble. God, we thank you for tonight. God, we thank you for our school district, for our board members, and for all those that work within Red Oak ISD. God, we pray for their protection, God, for a blessing upon them. And Lord, I just pray for wisdom tonight for these board members as they have to make choices and decisions in regard to so many different things. And Lord, we understand we live in a world that's constantly changing, but we're grateful we can come to you, the one who never does change. That you're always faithful, you're always true, you're always right, you're always just. And so Lord, I pray that you would give the board and the administrators the wisdom they need to make the right decisions, God, that are best for the students and ultimately the ones that honor you. And we thank you for it, and we trust you for it. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Ms. Porter, would you lead us in our pledge, or introduce our pledge leader? So you'll notice that tonight we're going back to our old way of doing it.
Yes.
We have a guest leader in the churches that will come and do our prayer, lead us in invocation, and then we'll have a pledge leader from one of our campuses.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of introducing our leader, our Pledge of Allegiance leader. Our September Pledge of Allegiance leader is Sean Fanning. He's 7 years old. His parents are Andrea and Shay. He has 2 sisters and 1 brother. Sean is in the 2nd grade at Eastridge Elementary School, and his teacher is Mrs. Malin. His favorite subjects are science and gym. Sean enjoys playing soccer, baseball, and GT classes at school. His favorite book is Bad Guys. His favorite pet is his dog, Levon. When Sean grows up, he wants to be a zoologist. The person he admires the most is his brother, Aiden, because he is very entertaining. Something he likes about himself is he's talented at writing, playing sports, and thinking before answering questions.
Can you pull the microphone for him?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, one indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honoring the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Good God. A good job. Okay, Mom, Dad, getting some pictures up here.
And that's why he's entertaining.
All right, we're going to move into our superintendent's report. I'll turn it over to Ms. Sam.
Okay, at this time, we're going to start with Angela Thomas, our student council sponsor.
It's definitely not Miss Thomas.
Definitely not Miss Thomas. How about Mr. Davis? We have a stand-in.
Hello, can you hear me good? Hello, I'm Xavier Nordella I'm Xavier Nordella, the Red Oak High School Student Council Parliamentarian and Student Council Representative for this meeting. I want to say on behalf of the council, we are thankful for the school board's continued support. I am here to share the great things the council has done to grow in leadership capability and showcase the things the STUCO has done and is doing for our high school and community. Before I continue, I want to mention that the Student Council has reached a total of 129 members and over 1,000 hours of project planning and project execution for the 2022-2023 school year alone. To begin, a few of our officers and members attended a summer workshop at SFA. Ms. Thomas was there too. Everyone in attendance grew in their leadership skills as well as got an amazing opportunity to share and gain knowledge to help the council. While at SFA, STUCO members got to plan and execute projects at the local college. There was a virtual conference for those who could not attend the in-person conference. The members and officers who attended grew in their leadership skills and worked alongside other councils to execute projects online. There was also much more that occurred at that summer virtual conference. The District 3 Officer Board Retreat, it was Lauren and Mr. Davis attended the 2-day retreat with members of the 2022-2023 D3 board. The retreat was filled with bonding and planning for the upcoming year. Our school is currently serving as the fall conference host on the board. Officer training was on July 22nd and July 23rd during summer. The officers and advisors met and had their training in their respective roles, as well as a bunch of bonding experiences filled with laughter, planning, and hope for the upcoming school year. Hawk Leadership Camp was a camp for the 4th through 8th graders which focused on growing their leadership skills. They got to create project proposals and at the end shared skits that they created with their respected groups. The Back to School Bash was a success, and Student Council worked alongside other organizations such as NHS to work to share. I'm sorry. Student Council and NHS members helped with setup and worked the ROSD Back to School Bash on August 6th. STUCO Executive Board members also worked to share information about the STUCO and upcoming ROHS events. Freshman Camp was on August 9th, and STUCO and other organizations helped host it. Over 400 freshmen were given school tours, learned how to get involved in our school, and got their schedules. Thank you for everyone who helped. STUCO has had many summer work days to plan for the upcoming events, create spirit signs, and work on small projects, as well as help teachers set up their rooms for this new school year. Waffle breakfast was, STUCO hosted a waffle breakfast on a teacher work day in August. STUCO members woke up early to help prep and cook waffles for the teachers to celebrate the upcoming 2022-2023 school year. First day school greeters were standing outside the school on the first day of school to welcome students and to help teachers get students into school smoothly. When we are able, a few of our members attend school board meetings such as this one. Last school board meeting was attended by Lauren Smith, Lila McAnally, and Karina Salazar. Senior Sunrise was on August 29th. The Student Council and the 2023 senior class officers hosted Senior Sunrise in the courtyard of the high school. It was a great turnout and a great opportunity for the seniors to watch the sunrise for their senior year. Women's Equality Day was celebrated in August, and we made a post recognized all significant women leaders of various organizations and staff in our school. District 3 Fall Drive, I don't know why, is it fall? Oh, never mind, Call Drive. On September 8th, we met with our District 3 officer schools, Forney, Duncanville, to make calls to other schools in our district to increase district membership. Gift exchanges. At every football game, we do a gift exchange with the opposing team student council to boost sportsmanship and build better relationships. On August 26th, we hosted our first pep rally of this school year, and it was our first dress-up day. We honored the 2023 senior class and asked their students to wear their class colors. We also had a first responders pep rally. On September 9th, we recognized and thanked the first responders of Red Oak to our patriotic pep rally to honor 9/11. Hawk Ambassadors. Stuco hosted our Hawk Ambassadors meeting on Wednesday, September 4th during talent time. We met with other organizations to discuss upcoming projects and how we can all better support one another throughout the year. For homecoming of 2022, ROHS Student Council is excited to announce our 2022 HOCO theme. Stay tuned for many upcoming homecoming-related announcements. Our council will be selling homecoming shirts as a fundraiser for Anna's Bake Sale. Be sure to order by September 25th. A few of our upcoming events include September 30th, Go Gold Pink Out Pep Rally, October 14th, Homecoming Parade and Game Coronation, October 15th, the HOCO Dance, October 29th, D3 Fall Conference, November 11th, Veterans Day Assembly, and December 1st, Flood Drive. And that is the end of the presentation.
So as you can see, this is one of the busiest organizations that we have in the district. And, you know, this is a bunch of kids. You have 129 now, you said?
So far, yes.
Yeah. You don't grow into organizations that big if you're not doing a lot of work, good work. You're benefiting the students, you're benefiting the staff, you're benefiting the district. And they're led by, you see one of the sponsors. I mean, it all starts at the top. And the leadership that they have, and we appreciate the leadership that you and Ms. Thomas have provided them. But the students, as part of this, every year, you guys just do a super job, and we appreciate all that the Stuco does. And don't be surprised if you're at one of the election sites and you see some of these people out working. So it's not just in the school; they're about the community too. So we appreciate what you guys do. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you so much. They are an outstanding group of kids and sponsors as well. We're going to move into our project updates, and just a real quick update from Mr. Frails on our portables.
Well, I didn't bring any pictures tonight because everybody's seen what concrete looks like when it dries. So from the last time, we've had a bunch of things going on, a bunch of supplies and all that sort of thing, cabling. We're getting all that stuff done. We got the sidewalks poured actually today for all the ramps are installed, the sidewalks are poured. We're running into a couple of supply chain issues on some things. One of the things is galvanized steel to build the awnings is in short supply. Hopefully maybe by the end of the week we're going to have an update on that. The biggest thing that we're working on right now is all the electrical supplies. They said they were going to be behind, but they actually got here, so we're good there. The next big hurdle we have to jump are the fire alarm systems because they're tied into 3 separate buildings, so all 3 of them are different because they're tied into the building that's there. And those little things, those little fire strobes and the smoke sensors are a little bit different in each one, and so they're getting those. And one of the things is that Wooden was doing an upgrade anyway, and we're missing parts for the upgraded Wooden, and it's just fun times. But we're going to get it done. Hopefully by the time we get to October, we are inhabiting the buildings by then. So we're, Ms. Rector can tell you that this concrete truck was lost today. Yeah, where to go, and they'd already been there. So anyway, we're making headways on the portables. Questions? All good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next under projects, we're going to have Steve Hulsey from Corrigan.
Thank you. Glad to be here again. Last time I talked to you was 4 weeks and 4 days ago. I counted when I was sitting there. So in the last 4 weeks, these are the activities that we have accomplished on the middle school design process. So going through the agenda, we're going to talk about the project overview, visioning survey results, and I'll explain what that is, tours we did, the programming process, and now the beginning of the design process that we're just getting into. As we get started in talking about the project overview, wanted to show you the names of the team members from the district and from Corrigan who are working on this project. There's 10 people on the district side, and there's 9 team members on the Corrigan side working on this project right now, and 2 of them are here. You've seen David before, David Saphir, and then Rebecca Gallagher are 2 of our team members that are here to watch the presentation. Just a reminder of where the site is. The green square is your existing middle school. As you remember, current enrollment's 1526. It was designed as a high school and elementary, now being used as a middle school. The new middle school will split this, if it's approved, will split this population into the 2 schools. The red square you see on the site plan is south of Avila Road on the west side of the district. And then zooming into that site, you can see on the top of the drawing where there's a number 1. That's Avila Road, and you can see there's a picture of the view, newly constructed Avila Road. The new middle school site is in gray. Number 2 is looking north on Westmoreland. The site is to the right, that green open field that you see there ready to go. And then another context picture showing down there where number 3 is shown on the site plan, just to show the neighborhood around the site. Going in even closer, so this is in the city of Avila. As I said last meeting, we've been talking to them about the development requirements for this site. And you can see where the site is. So we're working really hard to be good neighbors to that, knowing that Westmoreland Road is a small, rural, asphalt road, designing the site to hold cars and buses on the site with lots of roads we're putting around it, and that's part of the process we're working through. And then you can see on the north side of the site and the south side of the site, there's an existing neighborhood in place. On the west side of Westmoreland Road, there's a new residential development. And then on the east side of the site, there's another residential development in the planning. So this site potentially could be surrounded by houses by the time the school's built on all 4 sides. Going through the process, so we kicked off the project. First stage in the design process is what we call visioning and programming. So we're going to talk about that process. It's a visual survey. It's a middle school tours that we took, programming discussions, and community input meetings. All have been occurring in the last 4 weeks. So we're at the first step. So visioning survey, we took that on August 17th. So with this, we had the Red Oak design team, and we have an app that we pulled together, and the app shows you photos of different things, other schools, other spaces. In those photos, the people that are participating in what we call a visual preference survey is that they'll rank it, and they'll have 1 star or 4 stars, how they like that, and it's just flashing up pictures, and they're just saying, yeah, I like the brick, yeah, I like the glass, no, I don't like the windows, whatever might come up, and they're adding comments as they go through this. So we talked about 6 different subjects with them, and you can see them setting the stage, front entry and aesthetic, outdoor learning, interior large group classrooms, and flexible learning spaces. So as we went through this survey and got the comments and discussed it with the design committee, we asked them, what's limiting you and your students in your current environment? And I'm not going to read all 4 of all of these, but lack of space and overcrowding, obviously that was one, and 7 disjointed buildings. So comments on where you are today. Describe the culture of the existing Red Oak Middle School. Growing together, collective accountability, and rebuilding community connection were the comments that we discussed. What are your aspirations for this new campus? Safe and usable, community inclusive, student friendly, accommodating future growth. How do you define success for this project? On time, on budget, focus on learning, community pride, and support. And then we talked about safety. So in the safety discussions, obviously limiting building points of entry, consider how the building will be monitored, and track traffic pickup and drop off. And what does state-of-the-art mean to the design committee in Red Oak ISD? Technology is accessible and flexible, variety of spaces for students. Big spaces, little spaces, individual, small group, big group was a big theme that we talked about. And then new, fresh, and inviting. From the survey results and looking at the visual preference survey, talking about the front entry. When we said what feature quality is valuable for the front entry, comments we got back from there are inviting, covered, secure, unique identity, knowing where the front door is. That was key, number one. Want to know where the front door is so everybody knows where to go. So we've just looked at some pictures, and you can see on this, you can see the ratings from the group, and then you can see some of their comments. Your high school got a 3.56 rating. This other middle school got a 3.8 rating. It was welcoming, simple, great combo of modern and traditional. This got a 3.8 rating as well. Appreciate the mix of modern with the traditional red brick, tall windows, cons about cleaning the windows or getting to the windows. Also, con about you don't know where the front door is here. It's not pronounced in this photograph. 3.67 rating on this, clean, simple, would fit in Red Oak. We looked at outdoor learning spaces and what outdoor learning spaces means to Red Oak ISD. Education focused, easy to maintain, secure. The big thing that we talked about in outdoor learning spaces was the fact that have a purpose, an educational purpose. Tie them to the inside and outside. Make sure that flow is in and out, and that if they go outside, they're going to learn. They're going to have the things that they need outside to learn, and it's set up for them to do learning in those spaces. Here's some of the spaces that we looked at. 3.4, not enough shade. Built-in seating was a pro, but also it's a con because it's set up and it's rigid. This space, 2.89 rating, but it had a purpose. You could see that there's a marker board out in the space so they can project things. They have different size of spaces. One to set up as a classroom, one to set up as a table, had some trees, so shading. In the classrooms, so what characteristics would you like to see in classrooms? Bright, natural light. Natural light's a big theme. And natural light, we know also, we're balancing the natural light with the security, so we're still working on how that works. Open and flexible, making sure that you have the ability to flex through the years, not only the school year, the programs, but year to year, so that spaces can be used and that the building can ebb and flow with populations or teaching styles. And then the furniture, making sure the furniture is designed with the building itself so that they all fit together and work together as one cohesive unit. So looking at some of the classroom feedback here, like the open flexibility, like opening, like natural light, they look engaging, love the whiteboards. Flexible learning spaces, collaborative spaces, those spaces throughout the facility that are the pull-out spaces, the collab rooms, the corner where a couple of students can get together to study, the place where 2 or 3 classrooms can go together to study. All those different kind of spaces throughout the building. Characteristics we saw or heard from the group was make sure there's multiple opportunities and ample spaces across the facility to be able to accommodate the student and teacher's needs. All around. Flexible and easy to use. Common themes. Then we looked at starting to build how these classrooms worked with flexible spaces. And as you can see on this picture, we had the enclosed all the way over to pocket. Enclosed was, everybody liked that the best. The pocket everybody liked the least in the group. And in the picture that you see, the enclosed picture, you can see the yellow in the center is, Shields is a similar concept to this. Classrooms around with a space in the middle where classrooms can come out and feed into that. Most secure, most usable, most adjacent to classrooms, ability for the teachers to observe and see in multiple places. That's why that was liked the best of the group. Here's some photos of how those spaces could look at a middle school level. As you can see, there's flexible furniture, there's flexible spaces, there's ability for the students to move things around. They're big enough to have big groups and little groups, and they're adjacent to the classrooms with lots of visibility. One comment was to have tables over lounge seating. So we did that on one day. We did that on the 17th. On August 24th, we spent the day touring. So what we did on the tour is that we looked around DFW Metroplex at 4 other middle schools that have been built in the last 5 to 7 years. And the purpose of the tours was to take the design team as well as the ROISD staff, walk through those buildings, look at them, and able to point out things that we were talking about, concepts we were talking about, I like this collaboration space. I like the way this building looks when you drive up. I like the way the parking works. Color, I mean, everything in the building. We spent an hour in each one of the buildings talking about it, walking on the tours, the 4 that we did. Rodriguez Middle School in Denton, Nelson Middle School in Frisco, Lawler Middle School in Frisco. There were 2 different concepts of that building. That's why we did 2 of them in Frisco. And then Middle School West in Coppell. The tour guides for our tours were the principals of each campus, as well as the project architect that we had on the project, so they could explain from an administration view, here's what we designed, here's what we were thinking about, here's how it's working, here's how it's not working, here's how it could work better. And then we had our project architects there as well to be able to explain the process of the design, the construction, fill in any of the gaps that the principal didn't know about regarding how it was designed, why it was designed. Then the next week on August 31st, we had an all-day session here, programming. So programming is the list of spaces in the building that says you're going to have one principal's office that's 250 square feet that has these things in it. Desk, 2 desks, a lounge table, whatever there might be in each one of those spaces. We go through every single space. We talk about every single room, what goes in that room, what kind of equipment is, how they're going to use that room. So you can see each one of the major categories here about the programming voices we had in the room. So core curriculum, specialized learning, science, athletics, fine arts, career and ed tech, administration, security, library, technology, and mechanical systems. We had 34 people from ROISD on that all-day session commenting on their particular expertise and their particular space in the program. And after that meeting, we took the notes, we revised it together, got the program out. We'll bring it to you at the next meeting. It is pretty much there about all of that information is plugged in. Now, ongoing community input sessions that you have ongoing right now. So Ms. Sanford has done 3 of the design input sessions so far. 3, right? Today's the 19th. 2 of them so far. 3 more to go this week and next week at each one of the elementary schools. Then Tuesday, September 27th and 29th is 2 more sessions here, talking to community members who want to talk about the middle school design. There's also September 14th this week, there was a meeting with the Student Advisory Council, getting the students' input on what they wanted to see in a middle school, how they wanted to see it designed, what the community wanted to see in this middle school. And then September 26th is the Community Advisory Council. Again, talking to the community, hearing what the community wants, showing them the things that we've seen so far, that you've seen tonight, and the direction that we're moving forward on this middle school design. Make sure we collect all the information, not only from administration, middle school staff, middle school educators, the community, the users, the students, the parents, everybody in the community, City of Ovilla, anybody that might be involved in the whole process. The discussion topics at these community input sessions, learning commons. explaining what that is it a good thing, how it's going to be used, how would like to see it designed into the facility. Entryway, what does the entry need to look like? What does Red Oak ISD want this building to look like and want the front door to look like? And the whole aesthetic of the whole building. Classrooms, how to set up the classrooms, how those all work. The exterior aesthetic of the building, safety and visual monitoring, safety considerations in this whole design to make sure the building is very safe. Interior light and exterior light. Heard a common theme about natural light into the classrooms, but how is that going to be achieved? And how is that going to be balanced with security issues, line of sights, things like that? The indoor-outdoor learning spaces and how they're designed. What curriculum is going to be put in those indoor-outdoor spaces and how those spaces will be used is critical to making sure that it's usable, accessible, and the students get to go out there. And then administration areas. Distributed administration, central administration, combination of both, how that wants to work, whether you have all administration at the front entry or whether there's APs or other administration spread out through the building. So we're working through that as well. Some of the superintendent's student advisory council input. Got thoughts on 1-story versus 2-story, and you see here prefer natural light to be included. From the students, helps us focus, helps us stay awake, it's beneficial for our health, and then they prefer to have the assistant principals more accessible throughout the building, distributed, so that they're easier to see, easier to get to, easier to access. Parent meeting inputs. So, priorities at Red Oak Elementary were organization of the classroom and administration in the building. Once again, distributed. Priorities at Shields were the collaborative areas, because Shields does have collaborative areas, so they have a working experience knowing that. And then organization of the classrooms in the building, as well as the comments you see here, thoughts on a 1-story versus a 2-story, and the collaboration spaces. So on going to this, so we did the tours, we did the visual preference survey, we've gone through the programs, you're doing community input sessions as well. We're also doing the design process. So in the design process, we're working very fast to get to bring you the conceptual design, schematic design at your next meeting, which will show images, floor plan, site plan. And you can see in the timeline here, project kickoff, programming and visioning, schematic design, and design development phases are what we're in right now, and they flow back and forth. Then we get to CD, CA, and then building. This is an early look at the conceptual idea that we have for the site plan right now. So north is up, Westmoreland's to the left, and you can see on this site, the 48+ acre site that you have, when we put the whole middle school on here and show potential for future growth, there's still going to be almost 17 acres left on the site. So if you took that 17 acres, took out the detention that we're going to have to put on that site, you still have a very, very viable elementary site or something else, whatever something else might be. And if you remember in the first, one of the first slides that I showed you about developments around there, potential development to the east of the site. So when that comes in, working with them to make sure this site collaborates with that site so that you can have those opportunities to make that and integrate that into a neighborhood school. On the site itself, we're going to have access off Westmoreland, all the access in and out. And you can see we're designing a very large bus loop. So we have 15 to 18 buses that are at this school right now, so those will be accommodated, and a separate. And you can see there's many lines going through there about drop-off points, parent drop-off. We want to get as much of the traffic that we can in 2 lanes of traffic on the site and going around. And if we have to add more roads on the site to make sure that we have all them off of Westmoreland, then we will, so that the buses come out and then the cars can come out, and by that time, buses will be gone and the cars can go one way or the other. We've shown a big yellow square for the middle school. That's still in development yet, so we just showed the location of where it would be. The front entry would be off Westmoreland. That'll be the front door. And you can see on the back side, track, 4 tennis courts, outdoor play area, 2 fields. main field, and then a practice field. And then finally, a look at what comments we have on the developing conceptual plans for a classroom. So as you can see in the classroom, some of the ideas that we have come up with so far is a door on one side, teaching wall on the other side, marker boards and teaching wall on the third side, fourth side, an exterior wall with windows, some sort of windows, high, low, combination of that. Teacher station, the marker board cabinets. So you can see the marker board cabinets in the upper left photo. So then you get another teaching wall. So every classroom, they need to have storage. They need to have places to put their stuff. But by making marker board cabinets, you have that ability to create that third teaching wall, which is great. So now you have 3 teaching walls and you still have windows. And if we end up in the design that the windows are up higher, we can put marker boards under that and have a 4th teaching wall. So we're still working through that process. But as you see, the furniture that's represented in the picture, flexible furniture, movable furniture, stools, the ability for the teachers and or the students to be able to move and change and adjust every day about whatever they're teaching, whatever they're learning, whatever group they're working in. And that's our update. So I went real quick. There's lots more detail in here to read in this report, but I wanted to get the high point to you all so that you could see the progress that we have. And as I said, next meeting we're going to come to you with the defined site plan, defined floor plan, and renderings of what this building can look like. And any questions?
So if somebody from the community wants to come to a meeting, provide input, maybe they have pictures or whatever, is there a particular way they're doing that? Is it online? Is it in person? Or how's it going to work?
And Sanford's actually
I'll answer
running
that.
those.
We're going to have the 2 community meetings that are coming up, which they'll be allowed to give input there, but we also have it on our website where they're the Q&A, and they can always submit something through email to myself, Ms. Trimble, Mr. Frells. They can submit those as well.
Okay. The dates are out on the website, published?
They are on the website. We have, hold on, I'll tell you. Gotta get my glasses. Wednesday, October the 12th, and then Thursday, October the 13th are the 2 community meetings that we have. Wednesday, October 12th, Thursday, October 13th.
What about the September 27th?
Okay, that's the community renderings. Community collaborative meetings, September 27th and September 29th, and those are going to be here in the boardroom. That's all on our website. Community collaborative meetings, Tuesday, September 27th, Thursday, September 29th, here in the ESC boardroom at 6 p.m. Design rendering community review, Wednesday, October 12th, and Thursday, October 13th, Shields Elementary School.
So the 27th and 29th, they can come and talk about or what the public wants to see?
Yes, that's correct.
Can we, I know you're putting it on the website, I know we posted it, can you put it in the article in the paper or?
Yes, we can do that.
John, this
Can you-
is a handout with those dates right off the website, so I could put it on the going out door and they could get it.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
And pick it up.
Yes, we can do that. We'll publicize it more.
How much participation have we had so far from the community side? How many participants have we had?
We've only had 2, and they've been the elementary meetings so far. And at ROE 12, around 12, 15. Yeah, at each of the meetings, so. And those are actually elementary focused as far as invitation only for the elementary students and parents. So those are not full-blown community meetings. We're saving those for the other times. Okay.
I just want to make sure that one of the rubs that we've gotten in the past is that they're not involved, and I want to make sure that everybody who wants to has an opportunity to come and
Absolutely.
have input, and so that can be a collaborative deal and not a one-sided thing as the perception has been made of before.
Right, and we did narrow that down to 2, and we called them town hall last time. We only averaged 2 to 3, possibly 4 at each one last time. I think we had 5 or 6 for the meeting, so we did reduce it to 2 this time. So we have 2 of those that people can choose, and we're hoping we'll have a bigger turnout that way. It was too spread thin
If they
last time.
can't be here in person, is there a place to submit it online?
Yes, they can do the communications. What is your info at redokeisd.org?
Can we put that out as far
With a
as the
link.
news article with that too?
Yes, add that to the news article. We can do that.
I have a question.
Sure.
So last time we met, or the last bond, there
Right.
was a lot of discussion about storm shelters. So when will we know anything about that?
Well, we'll have to have a storm shelter, and we are in the schematic design process. When we bring that to you, we will show you where it is conceptualized to be in the building. The thing about designing the storm shelter itself is that storm shelter has to contain the students that the building's designed for, number of students and staff, plus have restrooms, plus have a transformer to run, and have a whole fully operational in case the building were to fall on it, that they could stay in there with power and electricity for a time being.
So at some point, when you meet with us, you'll tell us all the specifications for that based on this school?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. And do you have, or when will we know, will there ever be an average cost for the furnishings?
We have a budget placed in there for the average cost of the furnishings, and the way the budget was developed is that furnishings typically is 3 to 5% of the total construction cost. And it depends on how specialized the building is.
Right.
CT programs need more money, non-CT programs need less money for furniture.
Okay.
It's part of the overall 94 million.
And are you designing, or part of the design of the athletic amenities such as the track, field? Okay, is that going to be a 7-lane or an 8-lane track?
It's an 8-lane track, and
Good.
yes, so that it'll be, we wanted it to be fully functional on that other side of town, so that it wouldn't limit traveling.
Well, that had to be, that was a discussion about being UIL qualified and had to be 8 lanes.
Yes.
Good. Okay.
In one of the pictures you showed, like an overhead, and you showed 2 new housing developments. Do we have a count, or do we know how many rooftops they're thinking of that's going to be?
Do we know? I don't, yeah. We don't have the exact numbers. But we can look and see.
Probably Ovilla can tell us,
Mhm.
because they had to approve those.
Right.
If it's Ovilla, they had to approve those developments.
Right.
Right.
I was just thinking, I mean, we've already
many?
got all these houses coming up around it. So
Right.
So we're underbuilt
How fast is it going to fill up?
Sure.
the day it opens.
All right, is that it?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move into the district update at this time. And I wanted to announce that we had 11 of our high school students that were named awardees for their outstanding performance on the PSAT NMSQT and the PSAT 10 or AP exams from the College Board National Recognition Program. Students must have a 3.5 GPA or higher and score in the top 10% on the exam by the state. So not everyone is pictured in this photo. These are the students who were available at the time we took the picture. But the NHRA is the National Hispanic Recognition Award, and the recipients were Asandra Sabalas, Brian Corpus, Gabriela Martinez, Tasnim Reza, Javian Vodella, Benedicto Sanchez, and Matthew Smitherman, and I'm sure I butchered some of those names. And then on the NAARA recipients, which is the National African American Recognition Award, we had Ashley Chandler, Janiyah Elgby, Kennedy Richardson, and Priya York. So we're very, very proud of those students. That's quite an accomplishment to be in the top 10% of their exams by the state. And my understanding is they move on, and there's also an opportunity to receive more awards as well. So we'll announce those as they come. Red Oak ISD hosted the North Texas Food Bank School Pantry Program on September 15th. And we want to thank the employees of Whataburger and the Texas Rangers Association who volunteered to help us out. Several Red Oak ISD groups participated in the Red Oak Founders Day Parade on August 27th. If you were there, you got to see some of our staff members in the dunk tank, and let me tell you, those kids really enjoy dunking their teachers and sponsors, so they had a great time doing that. And also to show our support for our peers at Uvalde, Red Oak ISD students and staff wore maroon on September 6th, the first day of classes for Uvalde CISD. As we just talked about, we held design input meetings at the middle school on September 14th. That was at Red Oak Elementary. September 15th was at Shields Elementary. And we will hold the additional meetings on September 20th at Wooden, September 22nd at Eastridge, September 23rd at Shupman. Parents have been emailed a campus-specific link so they can RSVP to those meetings at their elementary campus. And then again, the community-wide events on September 27th and 29th at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. So those are just a few of the updates that we have going on. Any questions on that?
No question, it's just a comment. On the college board, there is a distinction for Hispanic and a distinction for African American. There is no distinction for European. So the gentleman named Mr. Smitherman, that is not under either of those categories, but he was put under one. So maybe we should ask the college board to have a European.
His mother is Hispanic.
Yeah, so that's Matthew Smitherman. He was on the Hispanic recipient.
There still is not one if there were not a Hispanic mother.
Okay, that is correct. Yeah, those are the two awards that are issued on that. Okay, at this time, then, I'm going to call up Mr. Frills and Dr. Johnston. They're going to do a report on Shields, the old Shields. It is the current Little Hawks Learning Center.
Well, it's a little bit bigger than that. It's going to be about Little Hawks and After the Bell and Red Oak ISD Child Care Services. Little Hawks Learning Center began in 2009 as a daycare for employed children. They started with 40 students. You see our numbers since 19 and 20. In 1920 school year, we had 156. The next year, 92, 100, and 107 currently at Little Hawks. The reason the numbers declined so much in 19 and 20, of course, the end of that year was COVID, but that was the last year we had schoolers. We held schoolers at Little Hawks. What that meant was that the school-age children of employees, we were transporting them back to Little Hawks every day, and we stopped that in the 2021 school year. So that's why the numbers decreased that dramatically in that 1 year. And then the next 2 years, of course, were the COVID, especially 2020, 21. 2019, 2020, we did a program review. We increased the rates, not only just the tuition, but also enrollment fees and supply fees. No longer provided snacks. We eliminated the multi-child discounts. We moved the schoolers, as I referenced, back to the campus and put them at the After the Bell programs. We did some staffing rearranging to try to do a better job of consolidating staff, and we reduced the campus hours, which also helped in our staffing to reduce cost. And we have we actually have already started a program review this year. We started it before school stuff even started. Little Hawks is governed by the Texas Health and Human Services through the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services Licensing Division. You'll see that there are different standards, and everyone has to meet minimum standards. Those minimum standards talks about certification of director and staff, the classroom ratios, and the facilities, such as the classroom space and the outside. We refer to them as playgrounds, but they're outside spaces at daycares. Minimum standards are what all programs, when your first year, you start at minimum standards. They go through a pre-star, Texas Rising Star 2-star, Texas Rising Star 3-star, and Texas Rising Star 4-star accreditation process. In 2014, Little Hawks became eligible to become a Rising Star Center. It obtained and has maintained the 4-star status since 2014. Why is it important? Financial incentives, Dr. Johnson is going to talk about here a little bit. Mentoring and scholarships and grants and training. We are able to send staff members. The state allows us to send staff members to trainings, and they cover the cost because of our accreditation status. And we are still used today as a training facility for other daycares and for licensing trainees that go and inspect daycares. We're still used for that today. We did an employee survey. Like I said, we were already doing a program evaluation this year before Ms. Sanford asked me to do this. We started talking about some things, and we did an employee survey. We sent out an employee just to employees of the district, not to anyone else. We got 271 responses back. 97% said it was a benefit for employees and overall recruitment for tool for the district. 92, know a staff member that has used or planned to use Little Hawks. 98% of those have used Little Hawks, responded it was benefit to have the daycare, and 93 of the respondents thought that we would miss on potential employees if the program did not exist. This is the old Shields building. Those of you that have been here forever will probably know that Ms. Knight could probably tell us that, and Mr. Anderson and Ms. Peterson could say that this was the original Shields building, just this section. That was the original Shields building. These were the classrooms. That was the cafeteria. There was the kitchen. That was the original Shields. Then they added on this back northern wing, and then the eastern side was the newest rendition, the addition, and the gym used to sit over here, and in 2009 it was removed. So right now Little Hawks occupies the blue portion of the building. Education Foundation has moved into the old administrative area of this building, and we still use this area for support services. That's our only storage left in this whole district, are those classrooms right there for things. When they first moved into Little Hawks, this was the only area that was used. The reason that was the only area that was used was this area needed to be renovated with roofing and AC and everything else. We had to get a sprinkler system, and all that's been renovated. For us to use this building today, I've not asked the architects, but I know just from our previous endeavors around here, like moving out of the middle school and moving out of Live Oak, it would take a substantial amount of creativity and money to renovate this to put school children back in, because daycares have different standards. So that's the building as it exists today. After the Bell School started in 2011, 2012. You can see the enrollment numbers, 182. Now remember, that was still when we had schoolers on, in other words, employees, kids back on campus. And they were still going to Little Hawks. So that it was definitely bigger back then, but look at our current enrollment is back up to 161 students. And we have a waiting list. And we are no longer, we used to hire, if we went one over, we would hire a staff member. We don't do that anymore. We wait till we have the 12 or 15 before we hire. So that helps our physical responsibility, but we do operate with waiting lists now. After the Bell, like I said, it's in a program review. Back in 19 and 20, we increased the rates, the tuition, and we made staffing changes just as I alluded to. We don't, if we're one over anymore, we don't just hire a staff member to accommodate that one student. We wait till we've got a sufficient number to balance it out for the staff ratios. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Johnston.
Thank you. As y'all may be aware, in the fall of 2021, the Texas Workforce Commission approved funding through several of the COVID grants to provide direct relief to child care facilities, and ours were part of that. Each child care facility had to submit an application, and we submitted it for both Little Hawks as well as after the Bell campuses. You had to be licensed and registered to be able to apply and to receive the grant, and the child care providers who were Texas Rising Star certified received enhanced funding based on multiple factors, some being the demography, some being the location, some being the accreditation. We actually received about a 38% increase in our funding as a result of being that 4-star rating. Again, the first award allocated, they came in 2 different award allocations. The first one was $598,000 for Little Hawks and After the Bell. And the second one was awarded this last spring, and it was $2.6 million to both Little Hawks and After the Bell. Again, and the way the funds were going to be allocated was over 4 installments. The first one was to come in March. It probably came in April and May, and then we've received 2 to date, $1.7 million to support both Little Hawks and After the Bell. Historical funding. As you know, the Little Hawks and After the Bell is supported by district funds, and since it's available to district and staff only for Little Hawks, it is viewed as a benefit, again, as Mr. Frills talked about, to attract and retain staff. Up until this last year, there had been deficits in the revenue collected versus the program expenditures, and we've talked about that in the past. In the 21-22 ending variance is a positive $671,000, and is projected to continue to be positive for this next school year and hopefully the year after that, because I think the 4 payments will be extended until next year. For this budget year, the Little Hawks Learning Center budget for the 22-23 school year has a positive variance projected of $87,000 because of the Child Care Relief Fund. Then After the Bell has $553,000 positive variance as a budget. The last quarterly payment is anticipated not to be received until the 23-24 fiscal year. Again, that will help balance that next year's budget. And the district will be reviewing, as Mr. Frill said, the programs to ensure that they are sustainable into the future. And that's it.
So as far as, and I think I know the answer, but for the public to know, first of all, Little Hawks and After the Bell, people pay to go to that. It's not just Red Oak ISD says, here, come free. They're all paying for that.
Yep.
So I want the community definitely to know that nobody's going there free.
Yeah, that's correct.
And I also want to say that Little Hawks Learning Center, it's not, to me, it was not a daycare, because I had 2 grandkids that went there, and when they entered kindergarten, they were much more prepared than any other daycare in this town. So I want to praise those teachers and staff there, because I think I hear that at the elementaries a lot, is our guys coming in from Little Hawks that are kindergartners are way more advanced. So it's not just a go play at school daycare, it's a learning center for those kids. So I praise the people that put it out there for our staff to have this, and I really do feel like it's a benefit for our staff members, and I know for a fact that I've heard in surrounding areas that pretty much all have daycares, all have after-school programs. A lot of them are run by the YMCA, which Red Oak does not have. So, I think that it's a very valuable program that we have in our district.
So I'd like to make a comment. The license on Little Hawks is for 200 students, or enrollment, according to the license here, unless it's been changed. And that it was put into effect in February of 2010. So if it's licensed for 200, and according to what we've been shown, it has 150-something children or enrollees. So why would we have a waiting list?
Again, I think part of it, and Mr. Frills can respond to, but I think part of it is just because of the cost of operating the program versus what is being charged.
It's the reason you have a waiting list is that you may have a group of, because the staffing ratios are different depending on the age of the children.
Yep.
You have infants, you've got a 1 to 4, 1 to 4, I'm asking the cheat sheet back there. You have 1 to 4, and the reason the waiting list is there is because it's the staffing ratios. Like with the infants, it's 1 to 4. When they go up to the pre-K kids, if we could know what age the students would be, that would change. The reason it's to 200, if you've got all pre-K kids, you could get more in there, but if you got infants, you're not going to get that many in there because of just the spacing that they need for the size. So that's fluctuates. We're talking about the waiting list is like I said earlier, we do not hire staff for a group until we have a full class of children.
It's licensed for 50 little infants, so
Right, but
there's
still-
150 that could be other, so maybe that accounts for is what you're saying, that accounts for your waiting list.
We don't know what age group's going to show up every year.
Right. And so,
Let me tell you how a private daycare would work, that we have 30 seats, period. We
Yeah.
have 30 seats or whatever. They work on that ratio. We changed back in 19 and 20. Before that, we just took everybody and we made them work. And that was part of that deal with the deficit, because we would hire one staff if we were a child over. We don't do that any longer. We make sure we have equivalent numbers of staff to the children.
okay, we show on our staff directory, we have 60-plus employees at Little Hawks.
That's including after the bell, too.
It doesn't identify that at all. It says Little Hawks. And it would be good if it's Little Hawks. It doesn't say after the bell. So there's 60 employees.
Yeah, they're in split shifts.
Daycare people make anywhere from $10 to $12. They're not, usually high paid. Our tuition changed from 2019, from $20-something a day to $29. It
back
is
then we
now
went-
$32.
We went to a $3 across-the-board increase last time.
Well, yeah, it's $32. These are PIRs. And there's a $75 fee for supplies instead
It
of
used to be
supplying it.
25.
So $32 a day, and we have 60-plus employees. And with the grants, because that would be a huge deficit, it was losing, or people don't like the word losing. I don't know how to say that when you have income and you have expense. If you don't have enough income, then in my words, you have a loss. I don't know what those other words would be, but I'd be happy to use them. And so that was running. Yeah.
I apologize, I misunderstood. We do have only 39 at our Little Hawks. Yes. The rest are at Little Hawks.
Well, that is not clear at all on our.
Well, it's under child care programs. Remember, this is a child
But
care
it
program.
identifies the child care, and it says Little Hawks beside the name.
Okay,
So
we'll get
if
that-
we
we'll get that
corrected
clarified.
that would be a benefit, I think,
We'll
to
get that
show that
clarified.
that's both programs, because right now, it identifies those as Little Hawks.
We will get that clarified.
Yeah, I think that would help, yeah, because that has a big staff. And so, let's talk about the property itself. That property, that school still needs some renovation, I guess, because we can't use it for classrooms. We're using it for storage. And
Part of it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's sitting on a commercial piece of property now.
No, I don't know what it's currently zoned at. In Glen Heights, it's just ISD, so I don't know what they have it zoned as.
Well,
Some of it, like in Woodin, we found it was zoned agricultural, so
yeah.
I do not know what Glen Heights
Well,
has it zoned.
looking at their tax records, but if you just look at its location, it is sitting right on a main road today, and adjoining properties are retail and commercial. So that school does not benefit anybody tax-wise, because schools don't pay taxes. That's a benefit. So tax-wise, it doesn't benefit anybody. And it is a valuable piece of property today. So if the old school were sold, it would put taxes onto Glen Heights. It would help Glen Heights tremendously. Probably would become some retail, which would give them some sales tax. And it would put that property, which would become very high taxes, into the Red Oak funds. It would put a lump sum of money into the Red Oak account, which could offset some of the costs of maybe the athletic amenities at the new school, so they wouldn't have,
Well,
they could
I
be
can
better.
tell you that one problem that may arise from this.
Okay,
Your idea, which is great, but TxDOT will have to grant access. And before you were here on the board, when that property was, the easements that were sold, we lost 2 access points because TxDOT wouldn't allow that many access points within a short distance. And so if we'd sold that property, we would have to grant access, probably, possibly, there are 2 access points, and historically, we haven't done that. So that may be an issue that, trying to sell that, it may devalue it.
well, those are things that need to be discussed because it could be a very valuable property that could put a lot of cash into our funds, and so those are things to be discussed. And it's not, it's being used now for, and until you put the grant fund money into the account, there was not a positive situation there. So how long will these grants last? It's good now. It's good now. So how long will they last?
It theoretically will be from this last March of '22, through next spring.
Okay.
But they didn't send us the money on the dates that they indicated.
Sure.
So I think we're going to get the final payments in 4 payments. The final payment will come in July. So that'll handle 1 month, about $600,000 for next budget year.
Right. So after the grant money is gone, then what do we do?
Well, as Mr. Frill said, we're going to reevaluate the program this year to see what we can do, and we'll probably come back to the board with that recommendation sometime later this year.
Okay.
At this point, we don't know what we're going to do.
Okay.
So you're right, it does need to be discussed. And the preference is that we discuss it here before somebody goes to a city to offer up a building that you have no authority to offer it up. And it's like me showing up at your house with somebody to sell your place with your address. I don't think you would appreciate that. I don't have the authority to do that.
Was not
So
offered.
we-
It was a suggestion.
Okay, well, it's no different, right? We do it here on the board, and this is how we operate on the board.
Well, we're
We don't
talking-
operate outside the boardroom, we do it here. That's
Well,
what we
we're
have.
doing it right
Yeah,
now.
when that happens, that's what you call Burger King, having it your own way, operating on your own. We don't do that. So you can either operate within the board confines, or, I don't know, just do your own thing. I don't understand. But you're right, it is one of the most important pieces that we have in the district, because it does house some very expensive and some very precious commodities, and that's our students.
That's true.
And one of the complaints that I hear is, don't grow, Red Oak, stop building buildings, don't grow anymore because we don't want to get any bigger. Well, if you go to a football game, if you didn't know which side of the stands we were on most of the times, you wouldn't be able to tell because you don't see the maroon and white, you see all kinds of colors of clothing, right? It's because people are moving in. We're growing these kids from the bottom, they're little hawks, and then they move into hawks, right? You're growing them just like when Melanie was in school, and Donna was in school, and I was in school. We came up through the hawk system. That's what these kids are doing. They're not moving in at the end. And as far as the tax for Glen Heights, well, we benefit Glen Heights with tax money because people move into Glen Heights because they want to go to Red Oak schools. So we do help them out with that.
Yeah, and the tax would offset some of the property tax because it would be on a commercial building.
Well, it's a benefit, Ms. Story, that if we didn't have those type of benefits, we couldn't just pay every teacher to come here the salaries that it would take to do that, to get these teachers here, right? We're in the education business and we're trying to educate our kids. To do that, you have to have the staff to do that, the teachers to do it. You know, in the working world today, it's not all about paying money on its benefits is a big part of it. It's time off. It's, it's PTO or flexible time off or sick time or whatever. It's not all about just a paycheck. And these teachers are able to bring their students in their district, so if something happens, they can get to them quickly, and the schedules are, mirror basically our campuses, so they can drop their kids off. They don't have to worry about running out of the classroom to get to the daycare to pick up their kids. And you have a lot of new teachers, young teachers who come here because they know when it's time for them to have a child, they have someplace to take it, and they don't have to go look for it. There's not enough daycare in this area to hold all those kids.
And they're closing every day.
Well,
they're
we
closing all the
have
time.
900 staff, and this will be my last comment. We have 900 staff, and this benefits 150 max, 107 or whatever.
Well, I think if you go to every company, not every benefit benefits every person.
You really can't call it a benefit. It's selective.
Well, when you ask the teachers, they'll tell you it's a benefit.
Well, for the ones that use it, that's true.
Even the ones that don't use it, they'll tell you it's a benefit.
Well, and isn't After the Bell open to any student?
Yeah, and I'm not talking about after the bell. I think we have to have after.
It's all a daycare. After the Bell, Little Hawks, it's all a daycare.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm about solutions. So you like to pose the issue of, here's the question, I want to know what your solution is. So you've thought long and hard about this. Where are you putting those children when you put them out of Shields in your mind? When you're thinking of it in your mind, where do those children go?
Well, the comments have been on the new middle school that we're going to have an overabundance of classrooms.
No. I'm talking about Little Hawks.
I'm talking about that too.
Not to bring the middle school up at all. Right now, if you were to
No, I'm
move the
putting
Little Hawk
them in
kids
the
out.
overabundance of space at the middle school because they say we're going to have too many classrooms there. We're building a school too large is what we've been told.
Okay, but again, that's on the premise that the bond passes and we get the new middle school.
Well,
I'm
yes.
talking about in your mind right now, today, when you want to offer up Shields, hey, here's something great for Glen Heights, where are you putting those children? You're putting them out.
She wants to put them on the middle school campus, the new middle school campus.
That's not there. So that's why I want to know today, where do those kids go?
Well, you coordinate your sale along with your availability of space. That's how property sells.
I understand that, but I want to know what your resolution is right now. When you pose a problem, I want to know what you're doing to
There was
solve
no date
it.
on that sale. We need to be thinking about selling that property. We have room on the new campus. They showed us we have 16 acres.
So you don't have an answer?
I did. I gave you an answer. You're not going to put them on the street. You're going to have a place to put them. You're either going to put them in the excess space at the middle school, which they tell us we're going to have.
Is that, I don't know, I'm asking y'all, is that legal? I mean, can you put a daycare in a middle school? You put infants in the same school with
You want crying
12
babies in a
girls?
school where there's learning going on?
that?
I just want to remind everyone too, we had designed a middle school for 1,200 and out of people asking for a larger middle school for growth of middle school students, it would make no sense to move a daycare in and take up what has been asked for growth. So think long-term. We're thinking long-term. People out in the community asked for a larger middle school than what we originally were planning, so we did increase that for future middle school growth. So if you take even if it were legal, if you take a portion of that and now put daycare students in it, you no longer have room for growth. So I want you to put that in the back of your mind as well.
We actually have no room for growth with the two because with your projections of 163% growth, this new school won't be open for almost 3 years.
Yes.
So that'll be 1,956 children in 2,400 spaces out of two schools, 1,200.
Okay, I want you to remember the growth that we projected, that's district-wide. That's not all middle
On
school
your
students.
literature, it says Red Oak, it shows middle school only. It shows Red Oak Middle School, 163%. Each school has a projected
That's what
growth.
we're over now, currently at the middle
Yes.
school.
We're according to what's written, there were 152% or 160 depending.
So can we go ahead and
Yeah, this is,
explain that, because
Yes.
this keeps coming up, and
Yeah,
this
there's.
is what's going out to people in the community, and it's confusing everybody.
Yes. Currently, we are at that 160% capacity. If you look at our middle school.
how
We're
many
going-
children do we have there?
We have 1,526, I think, today.
In
is
the
number
bond, in the
today.
past, that was shown 152%, so now it's
Okay.
160. So what is it?
Today's date, we have 1,526.
That's what we had.
We also have students we're still enrolling.
Sure.
So I mean, that changes daily, but if you're asking for today, 1526. And the capacity that we have, now, mind you, I want you to remember, we have now converted a lot of the CTE building into middle school. So that's not taken into consideration in that 163% that we projected way back before on the previous bond, because we've now moved students out of the CTE building. We're leasing property from TSTC in order to move students into there. So I just want you to think about the 1526, If we were to split that, and I know it's not going to be equal, so just say 800 and 800. Say we're at 1,600, that's easier to look at. So 800 and 800, and you can get 1,200 capacity in one school, and you can get 1,200 in another. So if you're looking at that capacity, 2,400, and we're currently 1,600, you can grow 800 students. Does that
We'll
make?
grow 900 students because you have 800 today. We don't have a building. We don't have a new building.
That's correct. I
When
just
we do
bumped up to
have-
16 to make it any easier.
When we do have a new building in 3 years.
Yes.
We will not have 1,600 children. According to the written projections, we'll have 1,956 children. Now divide those into 2 schools.
Okay, so if you have 950 and 950, then at that point, if you have that in that school, and each one will hold 1,200, you still have that growth. I want you to remember also, again, CTE building, we are using that building. We have portables, so there is additional space that we could use in the event down the road. Let's just say scenario, I'm just going to lay this out there. Say we pass a bond and we do a new middle school this year.
It'll be
Okay.
3 years before
Okay,
we're
it'll be 3
in
years,
it.
it will. And so we are probably going to have more portables come in during that process, because there's no way we can build a school faster. So we'll probably have more portables come in. We'll continue using the CTE building, and we will find a spot, portable spot, for those students. So say this bond passes, and say we are in the process of building this new middle school. We know, just based on exactly what you're saying, there's going to continue to be growth, not just at the middle school, at all schools. So what if the next bond cycle, we're able to do a CTE building? If we're able to do a CTE building on a next bond cycle, and that addresses the overcrowding at the high school, it also could possibly free up more space that's currently being used at the current CTE building, because remember, we didn't take cosmetology over, we didn't take construction, we didn't take automotive. Those are still housed there in that CTE building. So it is a big domino picture. It is. I mean, if we could fill up this whole wall with the dominoes that could fall. But in the event that occurs, then that frees up more space there at the current middle school that we could convert into more classrooms as well. And we had Mr. Halsey to make sure that I think he put on one of his slides an area for growth. We talked about wings at some of our meetings, where we could actually add on wings if we needed to the new middle school. So there's definitely long-term plans for that growth, definitely long-term plans for the growth.
So wasn't the purpose of having a second school so we could have our students not spread out? We could have middle school, and our middle school
Yes.
children would be in middle schools.
Yes.
And so that was the purpose for having a new middle school. So our
Yes.
children are in middle schools,
That's
not
correct.
spread out in TSTC and other
Yes, we're not
places.
talking about putting our kids, our middle school in TSTC, that's
No.
high school.
And so the point is that when you talk the growth is projected to 163%. We have calculated 1,200 students where we are now, 1,200 students for a new school, it's 2,400 seats for students. We will have according to the predictions here, and we'll have 1,956 students out of 2,400. So that leaves us 444 seats in those 2 schools where we can grow.
And the average growth, I believe, was 50 students a year. So if you have 400 additional seats, even if it let's say it's 60, 70 students a year, you're still looking at a projection of 5 to 6 years of growth that you can house those students. And again, don't forget, we do have that lined up to where if we see that we're going to grow faster, I mean, no one can project actual numbers, and we know that. We can't project the actual. We just have to look at what is being built, what we currently believe is being built. So don't forget, we also have a plan to add on additional wings should that be necessary. But to say we're not building one big enough, we're building one big enough to meet that growth unless something astronomical that no one expects to happen happens. But we are building a building that's going to be big enough to house those students, not only house them, but project 5 to 6 easy years of growth after we enter that. It would be crazy to build a building for something projected 10, 12, 15 years down the road. Because then, once again, think about this, if you build something that big, you're back to the size of a middle school that's actually the size of a high school. At that point, Red Oak ISD is going to be looking for more property to do a third middle school.
Well, they're
It
going to
wouldn't be
look for
growing
that
another one.
anyway, because you, like you said, we'll be full in, let's say we move in 3 years, and you say we have a projected growth for another 3-4 years.
5 years, 5 to 6 years.
So, anyway, numbers can do anything. But the point is, so after the end of 6 years from today,
Mhm.
if we move in 3, we have 3 years growth, then we're going to need another bond.
No. If we move in 2025, the number's 1950 is the number that you gave me, so we're going to go with
Well,
1950.
you just multiply 1,200 by
That's correct.
163.
So then we have the growth for 450 more students, averaging a growth of 50 middle school students. Now, that's not district-wide, middle school students. Then you're still looking on top of that at, I said even 70, take 70, take 90. I don't care if you do 90. After we move in, you're still 5 to 6 years of growth out there.
It's okay. Let's,
It's not, you can't just multiply 163% by everything. We are 160%, 163 now. When you split it, you're no longer 163%, right? You're under.
Today, we have 1,600 students. We have one school. So
That's
when
why
we-
you're 163%.
You're at
You build a second
152.
school, you're no longer 163%
But
because
you've
you
grown
split
for
it.
3 years. You're still not
You're not
1,600.
growing at 160%, 163% rate.
But the number at
Our district would be-
163.
we'd have to build a new high school
No,
at
no,
that
no. Our
point.
number at 163% in 3 years, which is the projection, is 1,956 kids in 3
They're not
years.
projecting 163. They're telling you right now, today, we are 163%
No, there's
at our campus.
no. Look at your charts.
That's
on
what they're
your-
telling you.
Look at the charts. It says today that we are, look at what you print. You print that we're 152%
Well, they're telling you, we'll look at the
2026.
charts, but they're telling you, we are not 163% growth rate. We are
In 3
163
years.
over, you're there now.
So then you'll be worse. They're saying 163% in 3 years will be 1,956 children.
Okay.
When the school opens.
So Penny, am I hearing you say that we need another middle school and we're going to work hard to get that?
Well, we need a middle school, we certainly do.
But I ask you, are we, all of us, going to work to get that for our kids? We are here for the kids. We are not here for politics, I don't want to be a politician. I am here for the kids in Red Oak ISD. And I'm going to do everything I can so that they have a place to go. I don't want them at my house. Would you like them all to come to yours? Because I don't think it's big enough.
Well, you know, I think we should have a school and we should have the right school.
This
So
will be the
that's
right
what we're
school.
trying to do, is
That's
to get
right.
the right school.
But we're going to have to come to some agreement on these numbers, and we're not. So what school is the right school? So we're not in agreement on that. So.
We're going to get you the information, the right information.
I'm just
so-
reading
so
the
that you have it.
brochures
Okay,
you
we're
put
going to
out.
clarify it. We're going to
I'm
clarify
only
for you.
reading the brochures you
Okay,
put out.
we're going to clarify it for you. We're going to make it where you understand. You have anything else?
Just a quick safety update. We just had Safety Week, and it will not be long.
Good evening, Mr. Anderson, Ms. Sanford Board. Just a quick update on the Safety Week. I wanted to give a little preface before that. This year, with everything going on around the state and the country, we increased, met with the administrative team, and we increased our drills this year. Normally, we do the test to standard response protocol once in the fall and once in the spring. We actually are going to do that 6 times this year. 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, once every 6 weeks. So the first part of that we did as a safety week, as we traditionally have. The rest of the time, the emergency management folks on each campus will work with the campus officers, and they'll schedule the drills for the next 2 this year. So, but I just want to let you know, so we will be drilling more, and we'll do some more realistic stuff as well, to really test the responses. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of that. The Safety Week that traditionally we've held, we did hold the week of August 29th through September 2nd. We did test all 5 parts of the SRP. We do test the fire, the evacuation piece monthly as required by local ordinance in the state. But the other 4 we tested during that week, and like I said, we'll test them 2 more times in the rest of the year, and then 3 more times in the spring. We did, as you know, a year and a half or so ago, we got Raptor, with COVID, all kind of different delays, and integrating that has been slower. We really are pushing that this year. I will say that we did have campuses use the accountability piece during drills. We did see a couple things, some things on our end and then some things on their end that that we're getting addressed. Technology is working with Raptor. Some of that was on pulling rosters and if there were duplicates. So we're working through that. But it was good to use that. I think most of the teachers that were able to see the use were excited the fact that you could count for the kids real time with the app. So that was the first real test of that, and we'll continue to work through that as we move forward through the year. Some challenges, some of that was already mentioned. TSTC classrooms this year with classes of our students at TSTC. We had to incorporate that into our plan and how we address that, because if we have a issue, we talked, I'll use the high school, obviously because of TSTC, if there's an issue inside the campus at the high school, we don't want our kids going to, from TSTC coming, so we had to figure out the communication piece and work through that. At middle school, and this was kind of mentioned earlier by Mr. Frills, with the multitude of campuses, there's multiple points for the activation of fire alarms. And in the past, it's been kind of disjointed where DAP may be separate, the Cape building was separate. Well, it's one campus, so if something's going on that campus, it needs to affect all campuses. So the coordination of all of those pool stations at the different buildings, for the drill piece was, there was little slight delays that we're going to work on to improve better coordination there. But again, that's why you drill, because you see those things and you know those things up front. I will tell you, we did have a couple of false alarms during the week, and it's because during our safety training, we really stressed for the staff to practice lockdowns and how to set off a lockdown. And we had a couple folks that took that to heart. We told them, when you get to the end, don't submit, but muscle memory took place. But that was okay, because like one of them was literally right after we had a lockdown drill, we had to lock down again, and everybody did exactly what they're supposed to real quickly. So again, it was unexpected, but it actually ended up being very beneficial to test the system, and we had people using the Raptor immediately after it was accidentally set off until we were able to deem that it was an accident. And then I will tell you as well, the very last day of the week, we were about to do the lockdown drill at Shields Elementary, and we were notified by Red Oak PD through their dispatch, that there was a person threatening to inflict some serious bodily injury on folks, literally on Louise Ritter, right near the high school. So before, we didn't do the lockdown right then, but we put 3 campuses on a real secure, the high school, the middle school, and Wooden, because of the proximity. Quickly, Red Oak was able to take that person into custody, and we were able to release the campuses. So while we drilled, we also did the real thing during Safety Week, so that the drills pay off. Takeaways, like I talked about, areas that we can improve, we're working on that. And the false alarm and the real event, even though they were inadvertent, accidental or the not inadvertent, or not unexpected, not accidental, because the one event was real. It again tested our system that we were already testing, and we got to really put to work what we've trained on, and I think that was a positive for all those that were involved at the campuses and at the officer level. I've already talked about the remaining drills, and that's all I have for the short report. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Can you explain what Raptor is for people who don't know what we're talking about?
Raptor is it's a notification system, and all the staff has access to it. You have the ability to do in-house activate any one of the response protocols. There is a distinction on the actual lockdown piece that we trained on, which I won't discuss in an open setting, but they know the difference to that. But what the Raptor piece does is it allows for real-time accountability when you're in an event. So students have their rosters, they can pull them up and check their students off and account for them. But it also allows for messaging. There's also a piece that allows for like a team assist if it's not something that's necessary in the protocol, but there's an issue where a teacher has an issue in a hallway, they can use the Raptor piece without having to call on the radio, or it's more public, they can do that using the Raptor and get the internal communications to the staff at the different campuses. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Do we have all students in badges now? I mean, everybody has a badge now at this point?
As far as I know, yes, ma'am.
Anybody else? That's it.
That's all I had for my report. Thank you.
Is that it? All right, next we'll move into our open forum session. Now moving to the public comment session of our agenda. The board welcomes comments from citizens who have completed public comment forms this evening, which are accepted prior to the start of the meeting and are not transferable to other speakers. Please be advised that the information shared in public comment is the opinion of the individual speaker, not the district. 2 minutes per person have been allotted for public comments. You'll see once you get settled at the microphone, you'll see the timer behind me. Please keep all public comments related to school district governance and operations. If you have a specific concern related to an employee of district or a specific student issue, you are encouraged to utilize the district's grievance procedures provided in the board policies on the district website. Finally, remember the board may or may not discuss and act upon any issues that are not properly posted on the agenda. When I call your name, feel to step up to the microphone, and you don't have to state your address or anything that has been changed. Just state your name, and then when you're ready, let us know. We can start. Mark Stanfield. Okay, thank you. Mr. Foster, Bill Foster.
Good evening, Bill Foster. Ms. Story and Dr. Johnson's already stole my thunder on a lot of this, but as you know, I'm frequently here to, I guess, support the taxpayer and good fiscal management on the thing. Good job on getting Dr. Johnson, on getting the standard, or not the standards, but the money from the COVID or whatever. But even so, on Little Hawks, that's going away. I know the guys in Austin and D.C., they'll find something else to scare us about, but I don't know that we'll get that kind of money. We need to, but that brings me to my point about the Little Hawks. With the old shields, you've got a bird's nest on the ground that you can sell and take away, alleviate a lot of the tax monies that the taxpayer's going to have to pay for this new middle school. That's what I'm all about. As far as the Little Hawks being over there, okay, fine. But what I saw on your brochure there is the people that were surveyed, it's all feel good, and it's all the people that's there. I'm a big believer, and once again, going back to previous statements on my part, I believe in anecdotal evidence. Many years ago, a company you all never heard of called Boeing, my wife was the HR lady for one of them there. They were looking. They had the same hiring environment. Okay, they looked hard, and it would have benefited us, my family, because we had a 3-year-old. Anyway, they looked hard and fast at a daycare facility within the manufacturing facility. It didn't pay out. Yeah, it felt good, but it didn't pay out. But plan B, okay, if y'all want to do that, that's your business. But put it over to the new middle school over there. You don't have to have the crying babies in the same room with the 8th graders, okay? Put them in a separate hall, close the door, and it's quiet. Anyway, save us some money. That's what this is all about. And, you know, I don't care, you know, what I hear all the time, money's no object. Money is the object. We're the taxpayers. We deserve something better. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Mr. Terry Todd. Oh, Miss Todd, sorry. Apologize for that.
I just wanted to also comment on the Little Hawks. Is that a profitable business, or are we losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on it every year? I mean, I know you increased the tuition and we're getting some free COVID money, but when that's all gone, what happens then? So I'm not so sure that it's really a great deal for taxpayers. Sure, it's a real great benefit to teachers that have children, little children, but you know, for the taxpayers, it's not. And our taxes just keep going up and up and up. So we really should think about that and do an audit of it if necessary to find out, are we making any money, are we breaking even, or are we losing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year? The other thing too that I want to comment on is I've heard that even though there are laws now in Texas against teaching certain theories really about critical race theory, SEL, and I've heard that they are still being taught in our schools right here in Red Oak in our state. And this is just wrong. It's now illegal in our state, and the whole ideology is Marxism, is what it came from and where it is now, and it's done nothing but divide people, students, teachers, everybody. It's caused more division than anything else in my lifetime that I've seen. The word equity does not mean equality. It's totally different. It's not the same. You know, this needs to be stopped, and now. And, you know, they passed laws against it already in Texas. So I don't know why it's still being taught in our schools. But it's just wrong. It's anti-American, and we don't need that kind of division going on in our schools. And, you know, if you could verify that this would stop being taught in Red Oak, then I might vote for this bond. But, you know, I don't think that we should vote for a bond and still have this stuff being taught in our schools. So, you know, that's where I stand on it. I'm sure we need a school, but you can't have it all.
All right, thank you.
Can't have anything.
All right, we're gonna move into our action items. You have a consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want removed to discuss? If we don't, entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Peterson, and a second by Mr. Sebring. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0. Consideration approval of Ellis County Tax Assessor Collector Contract. Dr. Johnson.
There are a lot of districts in the state of Texas that do rely on their local county tax assessor collector to collect their taxes. And Ellis County is one of them, so all the governing bodies within Ellis County do that as well. And there's been some changeover in that office over the last several years, and we received a couple weeks ago a request to have our board approve a contract. Apparently there was a contract many years ago. I'm not able to find one. And so what we're asking the board to do tonight is just approve a contract that was provided to us by the Ellis County tax collector assessor just so that it's on the record that we have a relationship with them.
Our tax collector assessor is here tonight, Mr. Richard Roser, so that's the man that we're putting in charge of collecting our dollars. He does a good job. Could you tell us what the cost of the agreement is when we hire them?
Yeah. It has been $1 per parcel in the past, and they're recommending in this agreement to move it up to $1.25 per parcel, which is roughly $3,700. And
So is there any other fee?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, that's.
And it is budgeted.
Okay, that's good. So about $3,700.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Is there any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the contract with the Ellis County Tax Assessor Collector for the collection of property taxes.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Peterson and a second by Mr. Sebring. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0. Consideration approval of joint election contract for election services with Ellis County. Ms. Sanford.
And you have in your packet as well an agreement with Ellis County Elections Department to conduct the Red Oak ISD November 8th, 2022 regular election. The administration does recommend that the board approve the joint election contract for election services. If you have any questions about the estimated cost, you can look on page 64 of that, and it does show our portion. If you will look at that, we have Avalon, Buena Vista, Ennis, Ferris, Freshwater District, Glen Heights, Milford, and Red Oak all share a portion of that based on your voters, and our portion is $11,000. Administration recommends that it is approved.
So part of the reason we do this is it was requested that we do a joint election. If I'm out running around in Midlothian, I can still vote in our local elections, right? So
That's correct. You can vote at any.
it gives people more flexibility to be able to vote. Consideration, I'm sorry. Do we have a motion?
I make the motion that the board approve the joint election contract for election services.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Knight and a second by Mr. Sebring. I cut y'all off for questions. If anybody had any comments or questions.
This is just about twice as much as it was the last time. I wonder why.
It's based on the voters.
Yes.
If you look on the actual estimate they give you, it's based on the number of voters. So we're showing voters of 9/22 election was 21,874. So that's probably up from the previous elections.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passes 6-0. Consideration approval of technology device purchase, Mr. Messina.
Good evening, School Board and Superintendent Sanford. In your packet, you have documentation to support a recommendation of purchasing 500 student Chromebooks. They would come out of ESSER funds, so that's not district money. And right now, all the students have Chromebooks, and they can all browse the internet. The problem is with the online state testing, the operating system on the Chrome devices is not up to date. The idea is like if you had a Windows 95 computer at home and you went to the store and got the newest software, it wouldn't run. So that's what's happening. A Chromebook will get to an age and they won't let it update the Chrome OS anymore. And we have about 400 of those. And so the purchase of 500 will replace those that are out in the district right now and give us growth and a cushion.
What happens to the ones that we're replacing?
So they'll go to an auction, they'll get collected, and Brent has the auctioneer, and they'll come by and take pictures, and goes on a website, and we get revenue from that.
Any other questions? we have a motion?
I move to approve the purchase of Chromebooks from Delcom Group as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Ms. Knight. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our action items for tonight, and board members, you'll see information items in the back of your packet. The time is,
Did we do the lease with TSTC? I'm sorry, I didn't.
The what?
catch it. Did we do the lease? Did we have a lease with TSTC?
No, that is not on the agenda right now unless the lease for TSTC and consent.
It was in the consent, all right.
Number 7, if you look at number 7 on the consent agenda.
Great.
okay, the time is 8:45 PM. The board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to multiple Texas government codes as listed on the agenda.